for you to understand. It is called as HLH. Have you heard this term HLH? HLH, you might have heard, it came in the papers and all. We didn't diagnose the patient and they filed a case against doctors for not having diagnosed. HLH, anyone knows the full form of HLH? Emo? So it's hemophagocytic. Hello? Lymphohistiocytosis. Hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis. It's very important for you to understand this term because HLH patients would present into the ICU. Okay. Now, what is HLH? HLH is, if you look at the pathology, what is happening in physiology in HLH is, there is a extreme dysregulated immune response. Okay, like sepsis is what? Dysregulated immunity. Yeah, post response to infection, dysregulated immunity. But what happens here is it's an unchecked inflammation. It is an unchecked inflammation. It is not just immunity getting haywire, but it is also an unchecked inflammation. Clear on this? So it is not just sepsis. Sepsis is just a dysregulated host response to infection. Whereas this is an immunity that is dysregulated and an extremely unchecked inflammation. Extremely unchecked inflammation. You understood this basic thing, difference? Okay. There is an extremely unchecked, means extreme rise of inflammation. Extremely severe inflammation that comes in, which causes problems. And when you hear about it, hemophagocytic, means what is happening is, it is the macrophages are eating up things very quickly. Macrophages are eating up things very, very quickly. Right? This is what is occurring. Okay. So that means to say, if I take my bone marrow and I look at my macrophages, I'll find WBCs inside, I'll find a lot of things inside the macrophages, which is the function, but it is doing it too much. It is just doing it too much. Samajh mein aa raha hai? Clear? And also, if I now would check my inflammatory markers, they will be all sky high. Especially interleukin 1, 6, 12. These are the markers that will become very, very high. This is what this is. This is what the disease is. The disease is this. The disease is presence of dysregulated immunity with an unchecked inflammation. This is the disease. So it occurs, where does it occur? It can occur with anything. Predominantly, the two major things with which it occurs is a viral illness and a malignancy. A viral illness and a malignancy. There are two places where you will get this dysregulated immune response, that's a drop in immunity with an extremely high inflammation. Which are the two ones?
Viral illness and malignancy.
Okay, and which viral illness? Usually it's Epstein-Barr. Usually Epstein-Barr, but this can be seen in dengue, this can be seen in leptospirosis, this can be seen in leishmaniasis, this can be seen in any parasitic disease that you know. It can be seen sometimes in bacterial diseases also. It can be seen in usual septic shock. It can be seen in malignancies. You understand? So you should understand what are we dealing with there, because the treatment may slightly alter them. The treatment slightly alter. So what did I tell you? When I do a bone marrow, I will get macrophages, which are taking up a lot of WBCs. And you will have an unchecked inflammation. Unchecked means what? You are going to say all that you saw in dengue fever, all that you saw in malaria, all that is still the same thing. You get ARDS, that is too much. You get all organ failures. You will probably get circulatory dysfunction. You get ARDS. You will get hepatitis. And you will get renal failure. You get everything. That's a regular patient, right? So how do you differentiate an HLH from a regular patient? That's the big question that comes in, right? So you have a patient who comes with dengue fever. You find the platelets to be 20,000. Next day patient gets worse, patient gets bad, and now you're thinking whether I'm dealing with an extreme inflammation or is it just dengue shock syndrome or is it dengue hemorrhagic fever. So for that there are a few criteria. Okay, the first thing that you should have these four is the presence of fever. Fever is sine qua non. Fever should be there because it's inflammation. Okay, so there will be fever coming in. So malignancy patients will have some fever. Okay, they will have some fever that's there. The second thing they will have is splenomegaly. will have a splenomegaly because it's inflammation. Macrophage is eating, so RTM will go to the spleen, right? So splenomegaly. Third thing is you could have a hepatitis. You have an hepatitis, right? And the fourth thing is a thrombocytopenia. So there are four things that are occurring. Alright, it may be 1 lakh, it may be 90,000, it may be 1 lakh 10, but there will be a thrombocytopenia. Clear? Now there are a few more confirmatory things that tell you that this might be the situation. Of which one is doing a bone marrow. To do a bone marrow, and you find the bone marrow having all macrophages and taking up that WBC count. So they'll say macrophage activation is occurring. So bone marrow, macrophage activation, bone marrow. You see a bone marrow that's going haywire. Second thing, a doable test is ferritin. Okay, if the ferritins are more than 5,000, if the ferritin is more than 5,000, you see ferritin in COVID 1,000, this is 5,000. Ferritin more than 5,000. The third thing is the presence of this interleukin that has released. This is a particular interleukin which actually has something called CD25. It's called SCD25. Okay, soluble CD25. Okay, so with this specific test you can do it at certain places. CD25, which will be problematic, and the other is the activity of the non-killer cells are not okay. Activity of the non-killer cells, NK cells, they are not okay. The activity of non-killer cells are not okay. You understand? So these are the things that are occurring in these cases. So in the laboratory, you should have one of these coming in. Okay? You have one of these coming in from the laboratory, and they are characterized by two cytopenias. Either it is going to be platelet and HB, platelet and WBC, there will be two cytopenias, two parallel cell lines going down. Right? These are the criteria that you probably get when you have HLH. So once more, if you tell clinically there is going to be fever, there is going to be splenomegaly, there is going to be hepatitis, and there is going to be thrombocytopenia. When you say in the laboratory, there can be the bone marrow infiltration. When you take a bone marrow, see macrophages that are eating up, a lot of macrophages activated. You're going to get the CD25, you're going to see the ferritin going more than 5,000, and bicytopenias. And NK cells activity going down. So you may not be able to do NK cells. You may be able to do CD25. You may be able to do ferritins. Then there are something that supports them. The one that supports them is a very high triglyceride level, a very high triglyceride level, a very low fibrinogen level, and a very low albumin. Okay, a very high triglyceride level, a very low albumin, and a very low fibrinogen levels. Right? So that is why if you see when I'm sending investigations, I send these. Why do I send these? Because I'm really not looking at DIG, I'm looking at this HLH happening. You understand? I'm looking at HLH. Once I see anemia happening, once I see WBC platelets going down, I start thinking, say for example you have a dengue fever, it is day 5, day 6, you have the platelets going down, but the patient's hemoglobin is also going down, he's not bleeding anywhere. He's not bleeding anywhere. So I should start thinking, no, why hemoglobin will down, right? If he's not bleeding anywhere, why is his hemoglobin going down? Okay, I'm expecting that his WBC counts are going to go up, not down. And I see bicytopenia. I see platelets going down, and I see hemoglobin, I see WBC going down. What should happen at day 4, day 5? Leukocytosis. Leukopenia is occurring in the viremic phase, then leukocytosis should occur. But I am seeing this WBC counts on the lower side. I don't attribute that saying, this might be HLH. Because you have bicytopenia, I will then press and see whether there is liver spleen coming up. Because if the macrophage is activated, the spleen will become bigger. So I will get the spleen that is coming on. I will do an ultrasound and see spleen again. Then I will check the ferritin and fibrinogen to be certain that the ferritin has gone up and the fibrinogen is going to support my diagnosis. And then I will diagnose this as HLH. Because the treatment of this is different. The treatment of this is to give steroids because I want to check that information. I want to check that information. And if steroid doesn't work, I want to give the patient etoposide. Chemotherapy actually. You understand? Etoposide. Okay. There have been studies where they have given intrathecal methotrexate in such patients. Intrathecal methotrexate. So we had one patient, you are not here. There was a young boy who was undergoing chemotherapy. There was a young boy who was undergoing chemotherapy here. If I'm not mistaken, some kind of lymphoma here, ALL or some leukemia or something he had. And he was admitted in the ward. Okay, and that guy was very confusing picture, malignancy, and there was a very good pediatric taking care of, oncologist taking care of her. Very good pediatric oncologist. She's still there. She's doing a fellowship abroad. So she was taking care of this particular patient, and this patient had fever. And she had already given chemotherapy a while ago. So she's not expecting cytopenia. It is all done and dusted. So there is no requirement. There is no cytopenia going to occur here. But the platelets were low and the hemoglobin was and the WBC counts were low. So she was very badly upset as to why this is occurring. There is no reason. I have chemotherapy effects have gone. This is what is the sepsis, and so she has done practically everything, right from PET scan to blood cultures, which is usually what they do. They evaluate it completely with multiple blood cultures, rapid malaria, dengue, everything came out to be negative. Okay. Then she thought this is something else here, and the fever just doesn't come down. Fever is just there. The fever is not coming down only. Fever is not coming down. Whatever happens, nothing coming positive. Nothing coming positive. In spite of repeated cultures, PET scan is not showing anything. PET scan is not showing anything. That is when she decided to let me do a bone marrow. She did the bone marrow, and at the same time she sent triglycerides, she sent ferritin. Triglycerides were alarmingly high, ferritin was alarmingly high, bone marrow showed macrophages. What does this become? HLH. Patient was shifted to the ICU, high dose steroid, etoposide, patient did well. Fever just went off, patient became much more comfortable. You understand? So malignancy without an infection can cause de novo HLH. HLH per se runs in families. So one way to figure out HLH is primary HLH. If we talk about primary HLH, it may occur to anyone, it may run in families. There's a certain gene PAR, something 1 and UNCT 13 or something it's called. So these genes, these cytomolecular genes causes some families to have HLH. So there may be patients, father, mother, son, grandson having HLH. X-linked recessive actually, but it can go from families. Okay, so that is primary HLH. Then that's when we do genetic analysis, cytogenetics, and figure out what's happening here. Okay, what we normally deal with is not primary HLH. We will probably deal with secondary HLH, which actually means there is some virus, there is some bacteria, there is some malignancy that has caused this kind of thing. For primary HLH, you don't need to be anything. You don't need to have any disease. You can just go into HLH. You understand? Whereas here you need a disease to cause this. And likelihood of generally EBV, Epstein-Barr virus becomes very high in HLH. That is why when you have bicytopenias and nothing is negative, we normally send off PCR for EBV. If you send PCR for EBV, you'll probably understand whether there is Epstein-Barr virus causing bicytopenias, splenomegaly and fever, which basically indicates this is HLH, because the treatment is steroids. You don't think of these steroids in a viral illness, but here you are given. If you give steroids in a viral illness, there is always a chance of the virus remaining there for a longer period of time. But here the patient loses life, that's why you want to do it. Steroids and etoposide. Clear? HLH? So you should always be on the lookout of HLH. Always you should be on the lookout. If a patient dengue hai, I hope this is not going to HLH. That should be your thinking, because the treatment is slightly different from otherwise. HLH comes as a full question in exams in IDCCM. It can come as a full question in exams, IDCCM, because it's something that is very relevant for an intensive care unit person to understand. If you are in the ICU, you should be able to understand HLH, because HLH is something that you are going to diagnose, not the physician. You understand? You are going to diagnose. That's why HLH is important. HLH. Read about HLH. Hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis. So we finished malaria. What is left? Malaria. Okay.